Hey there, fellow wanderers. Picture this. You're wandering through a cramped medieval village as twilight seeps into the stones. A biting wind slips beneath your cloak, and your fingers, stiff with cold, cling to a weather-worn lute. The cobblestones beneath your boots gleam wet from earlier rain, while smoke, pine, and damp earth mingle in the air like a melody of discomfort. In the distance, the rhythm of a blacksmith's hammer, the murmurs of townsfolk, and the low hoot of an unseen owl. This isn't a fairy tale. It's the harsh reality of a medieval musician wandering from town to town, trading warmth and safety for fleeting applause and scraps of coin. Comfort was for nobles. Survival was a nightly performance. So, before we dive deeper, I ask only this. If this kind of raw, unvarnished truth speaks to you, click like, hit subscribe, and leave a trace of yourself in the comments. Tell me your city, your time, your state of mind. Now, dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan blend with the wind of centuries past. Let's begin. And remember, in medieval times, even survival was a luxury. You trudge through the darkness, relying on the flickering light of an oil lantern to guide you to the tavern, your destination this cold evening. The thought of a warm fire and the promise of a meager meal keeps you moving forward, though the chill penetrates your cloak, seeping into your skin. You envy those snug within their homes, with their roaring fires and comforting meals. The life of a medieval musician isn't about the glamour of the stage or the adoration of crowds. It's about the stark reality of the night, where each breath is a reminder of the cold world you inhabit. The night can be an unforgiving companion, wrapping you in its shadows and testing your resilience. With each step, you're navigating a world that feels both timeless and foreign. You can't help but think of the stories you've heard from fellow travelers. They talk about nights when wolves would howl in the woods, a reminder of the wild world just beyond the village's edge. It adds an edge to your own steps, a quickening of the heart that melds fear with the power of song. And yet, amidst the chill, the worries, and the endless hours of trudging, there's a sort of beauty to be found. The silver thread of moonlight painting the earth below is a constant companion you come to welcome. It's a small comfort, much like the melodies you carry in your heart and mind, a balm against the night's chill. Historians still argue whether these musicians were romantics at heart or simply resilient souls driven by necessity. Maybe it's a little bit of both, you muse, as your feet guide you over uncertain terrain. There's a stubborn charm in the resolve to keep walking, keep playing even when the night seems endless. Your journey brings to mind the stories of those bards who came before you. Legends abound of musicians whose songs softened the hardest of aristocratic hearts or brought courage to weary soldiers. It's a tradition rich in legend and reality, where the stories seem almost as important as the songs themselves. Suddenly, the intimate murmur of a village comes into sharper focus, the notes of a distant song, the distant laughter from an inn, and your steps falling into a steady rhythm, almost melodious in their resolve. The destination is in sight, a beacon in the night. Yet for now, the night is your constant companion, a reminder of why it truly sucks to be a medieval musician. The dawn, and perhaps its promise of warmth and solace, seems a lifetime away. As your journey stretches on, the cold now a dull ache instead of a sharp bite, you finally catch sight of the faint glow of the tavern. It promises shelter, a sliver of warmth to ease the chill that clings to your very bones. Your journey through the night has reached its climax, but that journey is far from over. You're part of a never-ending story, a melody that weaves itself through every step, every night. And as this medieval melody guides you to the tavern's door, let's hope it's enough to see you through until the morning comes, shattering the night's hold. Inside the tavern, you find warmth wrapping itself around you like an embrace, a welcome contrast to the night's earlier chill. You're greeted by the lively hum of voices, the flicker of candlelight casting playful shadows across the wooden walls, and the aroma of hearty stews filling the air. This is your stage, an impromptu one perhaps, built more from necessity than choice. Life as a wandering minstrel can be best described as unpredictable at the very least. You find yourself continually traversing muddy roads, battered by the elements, and guided only by the hope of a warm meal and a few coins to line your pocket. Each village is a new chapter, each audience a new challenge. As you set your trusty lute down by the fire to dry out, You realize how much of your life revolves around moving from one place to another, a perpetual journey with exhausting stops. There's a certain camaraderie among the minstrels on the road of brotherhood and sisterhood, lest we forget, born from shared experiences and a common understanding of life's peculiar tempo. After all, it's not every day you meet someone else who shares your unique blend of skill, resilience, and perhaps a hint of madness. If these tavern walls could speak, they'd tell tales of whispered secrets, shared songs, and laughter that echoes long into the night. One traveler tells you of the time he performed for a particularly generous lord. He expected a small purse of silver, only to be paid with a jug of ale and a dubious-looking hunk of cheese that brought him more turmoil than satisfaction. It's a humorous story now, yet at the time it must have felt like a cruel jest. Such is the life of a minstrel. Your worth is often dictated by the whims of the crowd. Historians still argue whether this mercurial path was driven by choice or circumstances. Was it the wanderlust pulling at their heartstrings, or the simple need to make ends meet? The reality exists somewhere in the twist of both, perhaps, as you sit there by the fire, warming your hands and contemplating the next village, the next performance. From one town to the next, you navigate both familiar and uncharted territories, sometimes welcomed with open arms, sometimes met with suspicion. Your music offers a universal language, yes, but its acceptance lies in the hearts of those listening. It's a sensitive dance between playing something new and repeating the old favorites that keep your audience engaged. And while the minstrelsy lifestyle sounds romantic when retold centuries later, the truth conceals its jagged edges. The roads are long, the nights often uncomfortable, and the welcome occasionally hostile. Wherever you lay your head for the night, be it a straw-filled corner of a barn or a windswept patch of clearing, under the mocking gaze of a crescent moon, you find sleep more an evasive acquaintance than a loyal friend. The life of a wandering minstrel is filled with echoes of stories interwoven with melodies, tales spun and respun to delight a weary medieval world, desperate for distraction. It's an existence that demands a robust spirit and a willingness to face an ever-changing landscape one muddy mile at a time. Your thoughts drift to those who've taken different paths. The farmers who rise with the dawn, the craftsmen who perfect their trade within the parameters of the village walls. The wanderer's life offers a wealth of experiences, but at a price zone not all are willing to pay. The gentle hum of the room becomes your lullaby as the day's mud and strain slowly begin to loosen their hold on you. Sometimes you wonder where your journey might end, or if it ever will. The taverns, roads, and villages blur together, each story merging with the next until they resemble the worn tapestry of your ever-elusive dreams. Some nights, you think you might settle, find a place where you're known not just as the wandering minstrel, but for all the layers beneath. Then again, the idea of staying in one place feels foreign, almost unsettling, after being cradled by the open road for so long. Tomorrow, you'll rise with the sun perhaps earlier, if the rooster by the tavern gets his say. But for now, here in the warmth of the tavern, with the sounds of life enveloping you in a cocoon of belonging, the world feels slightly less daunting. The wandering minstrel, with songs to sing and tales to tell, will leave footprints across the pages of history. And with that thought, as you languish in the fire's comforting embrace, sleep beckons elusive, yet not impossible tonight. The journey never truly ends. It's merely a series of continuations. For now, you rest, gather your strength, and await the road ahead, for it calls yet again. At the heart of a troubadour's life lies the perilous world of performance, a multifaceted stage that offers both esteem and danger in equal measure. As the fire within the tavern blazes warmly and the audience's chatter subsides into anticipatory silence, you prepare to step into the limelight. Each note you play is a thread weaving through an audience's varied tapestry of emotions, binding strangers in a shared experience at least for a fleeting moment. Yet, not all threads unravel smoothly. The patronage system that supports musicians is filled with as many traps as treasures. To navigate it is akin to walking a tightrope. One misstep, one off-key note, and the fall could be swift and uncomfortably painful. Here in this dimly lit space, where expectations hover like ghosts, your focus narrows to the task at hand. Playing for a lord or a wealthy merchant might promise a lucrative reward or just as easily deliver a humiliating snub. This is not a place of guarantees. Hard-earned coins can vanish with the same rapidity as an audience's goodwill. One misplaced rhythm, a misinterpreted jest, and your evening's work might amount to nothing. It's a gamble every minstrel knows too well. Historians still argue whether these performances were viewed as true artistry or just another whimsy for the court's amusement. The truth likely dances somewhere in between. Your music, your story, it all lies at the mercy of power dynamics and fickle tastes. Tonight, as your fingers move deftly across the strings of your lute, you're met with an attentive Silencian audience eager to lose themselves in the melodies you conjure. But not every night bears such fruit. From time to time, a drunken objection might hurl from the darkened corners, or a swift command for silence could come from impatient nobility. At times, the arduous system feels alive, as though it has a will of its own, dictating your fate from the shadows. Patrons vary as widely as landscapes. One may shower you with silver, another send you away with nothing more than a half-empty mug of ale. And while some audiences are easily captivated, others remain impossible to please, leaving minstrels to perform against a backdrop of hush and whispered critique. In truth, performing is as much about reading the room as it is playing your instrument. You watch your audience closely through each bar, carefully modulating stories and songs to suit the room's mood. Charm, wit, and a keen sense of timing hold the power to transform a tense gathering into a lively, receptive one. The reward is that magical synergy, the moment when your music matches the collective heartbeat of the room, and everyone sways to the same invisible rhythm. Sometimes, it feels like you're the conductor of an unspoken symphony, pulling everyone along on a journey through sound and time. Yet behind the allure lies a risk that every minstrel must acknowledge, a risk tied to the violence and unpredictability of medieval society. Perform in the wrong place, offend the wrong person, and the consequences could be severe. At times, the danger is overt, a drunkard displeased with a jest, a rival performer provoked by jealousy and spiteful intent. And then there are nights when danger's presence is more insidious, the cool gaze of a powerful spy, the faltering smile of a lord whose favor you've precariously balanced upon a few well-chosen notes and stories. Each song, each story is loaded with potential energy, each note a possible trigger. As you string note after note into the air, you recall the stories of minstrels who flourished, like the famous Guillaume de Machaut, a poet-composer lauded yet ever devoted to patrons. Others, less fortunate, are remembered only for their brief and turbulent attempts at success. Within these tales lies the uneasy. Truth it is, in reality, a cycle of highs and lows, highs carved brightly into memory, lows shrouded in night. In this tavern, the weight of history bears down on your shoulders. The knowing that tomorrow's audience may sing your praises, cast you into anonymity's shadows, adds urgency to every note you play. But for now, in this moment alone, the magic sustains, and the room is your willing canvas. You play on, as if to etch a memory into the night itself. As your song concludes, applause ensuesa, temporary respite, a measure of success and silence swiftly follows. Wiping cool beads of sweat from your brow, you nod appreciatively to the tavern's corners, shadows now returning to their animated exchanges. But the night isn't over, not just yet. There are always more notes, more tales, yet to unfold in the loud yet lonely world of a medieval musician. As the applause slowly fades into the subdued clamor of the tavern, your fingers find comfort in the form and familiarity of your instruments. In this life, your lute isn't merely a tool, it's your companion, confidant, and sometimes your very voice. It bears witness to countless miles traveled and stories shared. Its strings a testament to countless evenings like this one. The lute, with its delicate curves and intricate carvings, requires constant care. It's crafted from fine wood that sings in harmony with your touch, yet is vulnerable to the damp air and the day's many challenges. A sudden shift in temperature, a drop of ale spilled by an overzealous patronate, all threatens to silence your music. In many ways, it's an extension of yourself, an instrument that can soar to great heights or falter suddenly, depending on the whims of fate and fortune. On some nights, the lute is your salvation. Its dulcet tones drown out the cacophony of the tavern, weaving melodies that transport your audience, if only for a few moments-to places sung of in legend. Other nights, it's a torment, a reminder of the fragility of your trade, each broken string more than an inconvenience. It's a step closer to silence. Yet lutes aren't the only instruments of the minstrel's trade. Traveling with you is a small collection each piece, boasting its own peculiar charms and potential pitfalls. A flute, hand-carved from bone or wood, often accompanies you, its haunting notes able to stir laughter or tears alike. Light enough to slip into your pack, it's a treasure not marred by the weather's caprice, but delicate in its own way, vulnerable to the clatter and crush of travel. In the corners of the taverns and among fellow minstrels, you hear the tales of the instruments that are beyond your simple means. Harps, with their elegant strings capable of creating the most ethereal of sounds, demand a lord's wealth and a firm setting neither of which most wandering minstrels possess. Or the viol, a precursor to the violin, whose strings echo yet another layer of medieval sound. Historians still debate the origins and significance of these instruments, considering whether they were merely tools of recreation or something imbued with deeper significance. The minstrel within you knows. To play is to engage in a dance of time. The instruments a bridge to the unseen world of history, mood, and magic. In truth, it's these companions of wood and string, reed and breath, that become your voice when words fall short. They tell 1,000 tales through their harmonisa language, hinting of lands yet to be travelled and loves yet to be sung. They speak for you in a way no simple utterance ever could, each melody offering solace and understanding in moments of solitude. The relationships you share with your instruments are dynamic and profound. A worn lute may let you down at a critical moment, while an unassuming pipe might rise to unexpected heights, turning even a skeptical crowd into a captivated audience. This uncertainty bears the same dual nature as your journey through life, itself marred by moments of dysfunction, yet strung tight by an overarching song of triumph. As you settle in for another set, hands deftly tuning your faithful lute, you remember the stories shared among minstrels. Accounts of strings mended with silk, spun stealthily from a lady's dress, or catgut painstakingly fashioned from village market purchases. Even a broken string can be a tale unto itself, retold across songs whose melodies echo through years. Each mark on your instruments, a scratch on the lute body, a small crack in the flute's finish, serves as a map of your journey. They're reminders that even in moments where uncertainty threatens to unravel the joy from your craft, it endures. There's also a certain rebelliousness about your instruments. After all, in a world striving for control and order, music remains an unbridled force. It cuts through the societal veil with its complex simplicity, its scales and chords glimpses of an ever-elusive freedom. The melody carries you forward, even on dark paths where the destination is uncertain, and it whispers promises of yet unseen horizons. For now, though, it suffices to coax another round of song from your faithful companion, a dance, a lullaby, a riddle to share under flickering candlelight. Across the room, sober listeners are drawn out of their reverie lost in thought, and it's as if the world pauses to listen. In these moments, you can almost believe that what matters isn't where the roads lead, but the music you carry with you, strung like stars across an eternal night sky. The audience leans in, ready to be swept into whatever world you choose to create, note by resonant note. With the echoes of your latest song still lingering, you notice a slight rumble in your stomach, a gentle reminder of another pressing reality of a musician's life. Food. Meals for a minstrel, much like the performances themselves, can be as unpredictable as the wind. Not a glamour-filled banquet by any means, but rather a constant balance between hunger and sustenance, often dictated by the capricious nature of your patrons and luck. You sit with the tavern's innkeeper, hoping your evening's music might reward you with more than just applause. One can dream of roasted meats and stews, but often you settle for whatever is offered: a coarse loaf of bread, some cheese, maybe a bowl of the day's humble stew. Whatever is placed before you, there's a zest within an understanding that each bite represents survival, each morsel a pause against the ongoing journey's demands. And while the food isn't always plentiful, it carries a flavor rich in experience. The coarse textures of dark brown bread remind you of all the nights spent outside, with the wind howling like a hungry beast. A simple taste learned by minstrels long ago. Bread can be many things. It can cushion instruments. It can be soaked to brew a makeshift ale, or in a pinch, serve as a surprisingly effective conversational icebreaker when otherwise lacking. There are times, though, when the unpredictable nature of meals leads to peculiar scenarios. You recall a fellow minstrel's jest about winning a minstrel's duel, only to find that his prize was a dubious soup that danced dangerously close to a laxative effect. Quirky, yes, but it's these types of stories shared on the roads that carry the best punchlines. Historians still argue whether people's overall diet in medieval times was as varied as the records suggest. What it demands, however, is resilience. Such is a minstrel's lottisting the fancy when it graces them, and making a feast from simplicity more often than not. The clash of metal cutlery upon wooden bowls fills the tavern with a warm symphony of rustic abundance, accompanied by the occasional hushed laughter or sigh of satisfaction. In truth, when you're lucky enough to dine within the warm embrace of a bustling tavern, it somewhat dulls the memory of unyielding frigid nights spent scraping what you could between wooded branches and roadside clearings. There, with nothing but bread and an occasional flask of warmed ale to hasten mind against chill, the emptiness feels closer at hand. It's quite odder paradox almost, where you play to forget your hunger, and you eat to fuel your playing. This relationship between sustenance and craft isn't lost on you. You've often wondered if a hearty meal might manifest in richer tones, or if playing on an empty stomach imbues your songs with a vein of inherent longing that resonates all the more deeply with listeners. The tavern fare isn't without its own peculiarities. The ales served could be robust or thin as vapor, sometimes teasing out secrets from both tongue and soul. Lunchtime conversations often drift from mundane pleasantries into confessions fueled by honeyed mead. Pomegranate seeds slipped from a merchant's pouch add a tangy note to serendipitous salads, and the fresh bite of wild garlic leaves your tongue with a fire neither can extinguish. Meals are more than mere stops along the way. They mark passages through different communities, an introduction to local cultures across your wandering travels. When you break bread with farmers, merchants, or other wanderers like yourself, it's like you've pulled up a chair to hear their stories. Each meal is a passporta culinary expression of villages past, people met, and the collective memory of the journey itself. Between the simpler sustenance and rare feasts, between memories of lone meals and shared banquets, you learn food, like music, is a universal melody. It fills souls, warms hearts, and forges connections in unexpected ways. Take a moment to savor what's before you now, be it modest or majestic, for such is the fuel of life itself. Despite its sparse offerings, the meal tonight brings comfort to your spirit and a much-needed energy to your tired frame. As night closes in, you allow the mixture of bellyful warmth and post-performance satisfaction to lull your senses into a gentle ease. Soon enough, your lute will again sing under a new moon, and with it, the familiarity of this orchestrated struggle called survival will accompany you into another day. The evening winds down, but as a medieval musician, you're ever aware of the roles you're expected to play within the complex tapestry of society. You exist in a unique space, caught between worlds, both privileged by your talent and marginalized by the constraints of the societal hierarchy. It's an intricate dance, navigating class boundaries with the poise of a tightrope walker, aware that each step carries implications, subtle yet profound. To many villagers, you are a bearer of tales, a traveler from distant lands who whispers secrets of courts and castles, a glimpse into a broader world. Your status occupies an indeterminate niche that might grant you respect, but just as easily render you invisible. Noting how your fate is tethered to those who hold power, at least their perception of you. In the view of nobility, your talents may grant you entry to grand halls and gatherings, where your music provides a backdrop to the intricacies of courtly life. Yet despite the grace of your melodies, you're still not quite one of them. It's a position that requires delicate navigation, playing the part of the entertainer while absorbing the nuances of the class dynamics at play. You've become adept at reading the rumor skill as vital as any lyric or chord. Historians continue to debate whether minstrels were truly respected figures, or if they faced underlying disdain or curiosity rather than an equal. The duality in question remains evident as they explore the narratives of minstrelsy's role throughout medieval Europe. Often, musicians had to endure being both esteemed guests and secondary citizens, footnotes to the nobility's social escapades. In the hushed gloom of the tavern's shadowy corners, a visiting merchant whispers about court intrigues and opportunities beyond the village's borders. As you listen, you're reminded how proximity to the arcane dealings of nobility can be both an asset and a hazard. Knowledge is power, and as a minstrel, you've gleaned secrets within your notes, melodies encasing whispered truths about kingdoms and commerce alike. But stepping outside these walls, you're returned to the everyday pulse of peasant folk individuals, whose struggles you share more closely than those of the wealthy. It's a different tone and tempo from life within castles. Your place among commoners holds an ease born of simplicity and shared experience. On the roads connecting villages, everyone must rely on wit and neighbourly kindness. With their trust, you're privy to tales of joy and woe, woven with a realist's understanding of life outside privilege. Your music offers consolation, much-needed moments of laughter against the harshness of daily toil. Here, you're part of their community, bond understood and appreciated in a way that often eludes you within higher circles. This balancing act you perform is reflected within your song's themes that can stir a courtly heart or evoke rustic laughter. You've learned to tailor performances to suit the audience of the hour while maintaining an undercurrent that speaks true to your own experiences. It's an expressive dance that requires nuance, yet it is on these roads, and amidst these varied societal circles, that you discover the pulse of true community vibrant, multi-textured, yet unyieldingly honest. Across dim-lit paths and fire-lit stages, you know-to yourself, if to no one else ho this world reveals its fissures, by marking those who cross its boundaries. Far more often than the lords, the likes of which you may entertain, it's these villagers and fellow travellers whose presence enriches the patchwork of experiences that define your music. Their challenges overlap with yours. Their stories intermingle with the notes you release into the cool night's air. You're less alone at these moments, more part of the collective tapestry that spells life in medieval Timesa, dance of melodies, a maze of shadows and lights. As you prepare to leave, the tavern's warmth lingering in your clothes, you sense the complexity of your position within this medieval landscape. Each strumming of lute strings suggests a narrative, sketches an image both clearly bound to and exceeding its context stone that flits between elite whispers and common folks' laughter, recognized and rejected in turns. The world spins on, music bridging gaps, blurring divides a testament to the exquisite tension in the role of a medieval musician. And so, the night envelops you in its embrace as you venture forth, stepping once more into the beauty and burden of bearing music across intertwined worlds. As you step softly into the night, the crisp air quickly reminds you of the pragmatic concerns that often weigh on the wandering minstrel's mind. Among the many challenges you face, clothing occupies a surprisingly crucial role in its importance, extending beyond mere necessity to the realm of status and survival. Each garment you don is as much an armor against the world as the melodies you weave. It shields, protects, and silently communicates your place within the fabric of medieval society. Adorning yourself isn't just about keeping warm. It's about the perception you create. Clothes must be functional enough to withstand the rigors of travel days spent trekking through mud-laden roads and nights, bracing against the chill yet presentable enough to impress the lords and ladies who might beckon you into their halls. Your doublet serves as both protection and display, each stitch etching tales of resourcefulness and creativity in hue and texture. A minstrel's wardrobe is a patchwork of aspirations and hardships. You often find yourself inspecting your clothing for where the edges of a cloak fraying, or the threads of a sleeve desperately needing reinforcement. Every piece is scrupulously maintained, repaired with the same diligence dedicated to your instruments, because the state of your clothing might mean the difference between open doors and lukewarm receptions. Historians still argue about the exact materials favoured by travelling musicians, whether it was costly wool dyed with vibrant pigments or humbler, homespun fabrics. The choice often leaned on fate's generosity, the second-hand gifts of kind patrons, bartered exchanges in distant markets, or scraps creatively bound into new life. This was less about fashion and more about making statements, subtle symmetry in colours, or an ornament here and there hinting at tales to be shared in song. The question of attire also carries a broader cultural reflection. Who had access to such escutcheons of belonging, who wore garments not as swallowtail cloaks, but as impenetrable facades? Performance demanded, and authenticity gleaned through appearance. Your garments could deliver musical notes in silence before your instrument was ever plucked. Recalling conversations with other minstrels, stories often touch on inventive solutions. One shared a tale of fashioning boots, from mismatched leather scraps a testament to creativity over comfort, born from necessity as much as artistry. Another confided in wearing multiple layers sewn together to stave off a biting winter wind, each layer a patchwork of remembrance from diverse lands. But no matter how refined your appearance, for some patrons, you'd always be an outsider, defined by a nomadic lifestyle more deeply ingrained than any woven fabric. Between courtly halls and rustic commons, your clothing often branded you as transient, even when your stories attempted the opposite. And then there's the struggle for cleanliness, a constant battle against the dust of the road. While nobility might flaunt extravagant accessories and indulgent perfumes to mask the scent of life's exertions, you rely on fastidious habits, embracing rivers and streams as quiet allies in maintaining the semblance of crispness, at least until the mud seeks its revenge anew. In ways befitting the life of a minstrel, clothing is yet another form of communication, each thread, a melody of adaptation and symbolism. Whether by grace or grit, your appearance holds the power to sway perceptions, enabling or inhibiting interactions with every tug of a sleeve. Settling in for the night, you wrap your cloak a little tighter against the descending chill, silently commending it for feats beyond its wear. The fabric speaks, its whispers carrying stories of varied lands and the heartbeats of countless listeners drawn in by your melodies. As your eyes close, momentarily away from the realm of dance and performance, in silence, your thread-stitched history weaves onward between the lines of reality and dreams. For now, one rests, ever swaddled in the enduring paradox that exists when life is lived on the edge of world's noble courts, whispers, and humble hearths, each stitch in tune with the world. A silent song sung by cloaked elegance in night's shadow. The road stretches out ahead of you, a ribbon of possibility woven through the landscape in hues of earth and stone. By day, it is dusty, sun-dappled, and busy with travelers and traders. But by night, it transforms into a challenge of navigation. It's a constant companion, your path through the medieval world. And yet, at the same time, one of your greatest adversaries, a factor that makes rest less attainable than it should be. Ah, sweet, sweet sleep. You would think that a day full of performance, travel, and the steady wear of exhausting life would entitle you to some peace when your head hits the proverbial hay. But for musicians of the medieval age, sleep is an elusive gift, always dancing just out of reach, like a mischievous sprite. You often find it's not the performance itself that leaves you breathless and weary, but the constant toll of the road, the unrelenting tempo of travel that tests both the body and the mind. Even when you collapse at day's end, the dust barely settling on your cloak as you arrange a makeshift pillow, rest evades you. Each night, you chase it down dim-lit corridors, fighting for a moment's reprieve from the world. Your choice of sleeping quarters frequently feels like the pivot on which your peace teeters, and the accommodations are rarely accommodating. A straw-filled bunk in a crowded tavern might seem luxury compared to sleeping under the open sky, where stones unyieldingly press into your back, and the cold crawls unabated through cloth and skin alike. Historians still argue about the sleeping arrangements available to travelers in times past, whether certain inns offered creature comforts, or if nocturnal repose remained a gamble played on uncertain terms. What they do agree upon is the unpredictable nature of the roads themselves, fact you know intimately. Sometimes you luck out, finding quarters that offer a temporary oasis, a stable's hayloft with fresh straw, or a corner in a fine manor with walls to keep at bay the outdoor racket. More often, though, you rest under the stars that flicker like your own fatigue-laden eyes, with no roof but the firmament. The silence that accompanies those sleepless nights is a different kind of music altogether, a symphony of night sounds, a rustle in the hedge, the distant cry of an unseen owl, the whisper of the wind through the trees. They tell tales of the darkness and demand you tune your senses, refining them to the disruptions so easily overlooked in daylight. When sleep does come, it often catches you off guard. Amid thoughts you promise to remember fragments of songs and stories to be tested against the new day's audience. First, though, the barriers must be breached. The chill threading through your cloak, the party, goers a floor below you, or the donkey in the stable that still hasn't settled into its own slumber. Perhaps the most challenging part about rest isn't the physical discomfort or the lack of bedding, but the mind that can't seem to fully silence itself. Like an instrument waiting for its next performance, it hums with anticipation of tomorrow's challenges, etching out plans even when they're only faintly sketched in the indigo of deep night. And so it is that as a medieval musician, you have an ever-present equation to solve, finding a balance between the body's needs, the road's demands, and your life's unpredictable rhythm. This is where semblances of routine can be life-saving. A few deep breaths, the scent of clove or lavender sifting through a pocket, small rituals designed to shepherd sleep past the gates of wakefulness. In the heart of darkness, even the flicker of a distant fire can offer comfort, echoing the warmth and hearth of an invisible community where souls, tired as your own, gather, even if separated by leagues. You allow your paranoia to dim, ushering in an acceptance of sleep, knowing that the morrow may usher in new challenges and undreamed of possibilities alike. Finally, rest settles upon you, like a worn but trusted cape. This pause might only be brief, but it carries with it the promise of renewal, imperfect, yet gratifying enough to allow your consciousness to dance lightly across the threshold of sleep. Dream, elusive as it might be, is a luxury savored even amid a world of chaos and wonder. And so, you drift into its embrace, a nocturnal wanderer temporarily at rest, wrapped in the gentle, ever-turning tide of night's music. As the first light of dawn begins to creep over the horizon, casting soft shadows over the village and its surroundings, your mind drifts to the often overlooked presence in the world of medieval music, the women who walked the same roads and faced double the challenges. While the life of a minstrel is demanding for anyone, it is especially so for women, who bear an additional burden of societal expectations and restrictions. In the annals of history, women musicians are sometimes cloaked in obscurity, yet they existed, playing their own part in the tapestry of sound that enriched the medieval landscape. Many were troubadours, or landed in similar stations female poets and musicians, who composed and performed, all while balancing a precarious position in a society that often pushed them into the margins. These women faced a world where barriers weren't purely physical. Performing as a woman meant navigating a social labyrinth fraught with judgment and risk. It required resolve and cunning to carve out a space within the patriarchal confines of medieval life. Considerations went beyond just skill or talent. They were about perception and propriety, about balancing femininity with the boldness needed to captivate an audience. Historians still argue whether women musicians were widely accepted or viewed as anomalies in a male-dominated sphere. The truth likely lies in the intertwining narratives of resilience and repression where some found patronage and even fame, while others disappeared into history's quieter notes. Cloaked in layers of expectation, the stories of these women often mirrored those of the men they travelled beside, yet their narratives were weighted with additional complexities. Like any minstrel, they bore the challenges of the road-long days of travel, evenings dedicated to performance. But they also had to defy or circumvent the skepticism of a society quick to judge and slow to accept. Yet, their presence wasn't entirely invisible. Songs attributed to female composers, though fewer, capture a range of emotions and experiences as vibrant and nuanced as any penned by their male counterparts. From courtly love to sharp critiques of societal norms, their work added depth to the sweeping narrative of human experience. The taverns and courts in which they performed varied in their receptiveness, sometimes offering refuge, sometimes posing danger. A particular melody might enchant a lord or lady, but just as easily provoke a servant or soldier's antipathy. These performers had to tread carefully, presenting a picture poised enough to command respect, yet relatable enough to connect with those gathered to listen. Symbolically, the lute or the harp in their hands became bridges between genders, classes, and the nuances of societal roles. Instruments once solely considered the domain of men felt the touch of women who played with skill and grace, challenging perceptions one note at a time. These women also carved out community networks among themselves as a sisterhood, often more supportive than competitive. Shared tales of triumphs and tribulations resonated deeply, echoing a camaraderie built not just on profession, but upon shared experience within a world that too often sought to divide. And while records may be thin, legends like that of early modern musician and composer Veleda, or narratives drawn from Eleanor of Aquitaine's court, suggest the whispers of women who dared to create. Flashes of their legacies shine through as reminders that their influence lived on, passed silently from one generation of minstrels to the next. As day brightens further, you think with quiet awe of the courage these women must have possessed their music, a statement as much as any performance a defiant resistance set to melody. It offered not just entertainment, but a subtle reshaping of existences framed from within societal cages. Over time, the echoes of their lyrical resistance infused the annals of both musical and social history, testament to their quiet fortitude. The road you walk upon has witnessed countless feet female, as well as maltreading paths behind and beside you. Each step they took was laden with purpose, each note they played imbued with hidden strength. You nod in silent acknowledgement of the women who continue to inspire those who follow, a witness to the perseverance of music that knows no bounds, limited only by the spirits of its creators. As a minstrel in this world of varying shades, you carry their stories with you, recognizing that even in moments when life feels most alone, they too are echoing in the silent pauses between notes. Their courage becomes a part of your own journey, letting their notes play out alongside yours, echoing through the medieval dawn and resonating far beyond. With the sun ascending behind you, casting its gentle warmth upon a new day, you set out once more with your instruments in tow safely secured and ready to charm the next audience you'll encounter. This time, you find yourself headed towards the noble residence perched on an overlooking hill, where the promise of patronage draws you like a moth to the flame. Herein lies another layer of complexity in the life of a medieval musician, adapting to the politics of patronage. Courts and noble halls are a tapestry of political alliances, where whispers carry as much weight as a writer's quill. These patrons wield influence like a bard with a lute, and pleasing them is both an art and a necessity. They offer prestige, the promise of financial support, and the vital networks needed to sustain a musician's career. Yet to walk this path is to tread carefully, as a misstep in judgment or tone could spell your undoing. Historians continue to debate the extent to which musicians genuinely influenced court politics, or simply remained as decorative ornaments, existing to entertain and please their benefactors. Reality, of course, straddles a middle ground. Musicians could be both exploiting their unique position to glean valuable insights into the machinations of power while maintaining the delicate balance that patronage demanded. As you approach the gates, visions of past performances in such places flicker through your mind. Some evenings you played to rafters filled with laughter, your presence warmly appreciated, and on others the air was thick with intrigue, and you found yourself merely an inconsequential whisper among the nobles' secretive exchanges. It's here, within these walls, that the dance of allegiances and favors takes center stage. A well-received performance might elevate your standing within the court, an entree into circles of influence where your next benefactor may be seated. Thankfully, music serves as a universal diplomat, smoothing over tensions and presenting a common ground where words alone might falter. You've witnessed musical pieces inspire alliances or soothe animosities. Your notes are balm to the tension of political strategy unfolding in every gathered assembly. But amid the splendor and high ceilings is the inescapable frailty of this delicate balance. The court is rife, with rumors swirling like autumn leaves in gentle chaos. Here, allegiance is an ever-shifting landscape. Today's ally might morph into tomorrow's adversary. Thus, you quickly learn to let your music speak subtly, to observe deeply while revealing little. Those who thrive in this environment know the unwritten codes, where echoes of support or dissent manifest subtly within each chord progression and lyrical phrase. To mention a local triumph or nod to the ancestry of your host in verse is to grant them relevance and reverence, laden with subtext that all present understand but never openly acknowledge. Once in a while, your cunning and charm grant you special request for a specific song, carrying hidden meanings or stirring memories. It requires quick thinking and an adaptive nature, playing the diplomat with equal measures of artistry, even when each tune sung may carry unintended consequences. There's also a darker side to this patronage dancer, knowing that these nobles hold your future, willingly bestowing favor or retracting it as the mood suits them. For each joyful remembrance offered in song, exclusion looms as possible rejection. The anxiety this brings is as much a player at the court as any knight or lady. Yet for the clever minstrel, the court becomes a labyrinth daunting yet navigable. Your purpose doesn't solely rest on pleasing aristocracy, but also providing snippets of honest yet shared humanity, in small dose creatively wrapped in melody. So, while you must always remain cautious, you must equally be bold, trusting your instincts to read a room and reveal just enough vulnerability within your verses to remind even the highest lords of their own genuine selves. By day's end, your performance concludes to appreciative nods or veiled apathy, but either way, you've played your role. Exchange completed, you bow and withdraw, your temporary interruption of the court's rhythm once again yielding to the intrigue of its regular dance. Quiet satisfaction stirs as you step away another day's journey into the nuanced realm of medieval patronage successfully navigated. And so, as twilight settles gently around the estate, you leave, letting the lingering vibrations of your playing echo your path forward, a nimble dance of music and politics just slightly in your favor. For now, your path may not be guaranteed, but you've lightened its challenges with notes and melody, balancing diplomacy and authenticity while your music weaves through the layers of court politics. Under the expansive sky, suffused with the colors of dusk, you find your mind drifting towards that inevitable tension between artistic freedom and the demands of survival. This ever-present challenge accompanies you like a shadow, a delicate tension of maintaining your artistic integrity while catering to the whims of your patrons and audiences. As troubadours and minstrels, you've long been inhabitants of this delicate balance, navigating the often conflicted landscapes of creativity and survival. With every piece you compose or perform, you face a silent but very real question. Do you craft what feels authentic to your core, or yield to what you know will please those who have power over your livelihood? Each song becomes a negotiation between your personal muse and the practicalities needed to sustain your life on the road. As you string the simple yet evocative notes, you reminisce about those moments when pure inspiration seized a melodious song that held truth so palpable that listeners couldn't help but become enraptured. These are the moments you live for, when music transcends its role as mere entertainment, resonating as an authentic human expression. Yet, such moments cannot always answer the call of reality's demands. Society's patrons may prefer tunes that flatter and elevate, leaving little room for the raw, unvarnished truth that fuels your creative spirit. There's a risk that in too often hiding your true artistic voice, it may start to soften, echoing fainter amid the cacophony of expectation. Historians still argue whether musicians of your standing prioritized artistic integrity over practical survival. Were you rebels shrouding truth in melody, or craftspeople attuned more to the demands of the elite? The answer, of course, is as varied as musicians themselves each, navigating their personal scales of compromise. In your wanderings, you learn it's not just about bending to hierarchy, but finding an elusive balance therein. Some musicians gain reputations as bards uncontainable, by borders framing their political or social stances in sharp retorts veiled with humor and disguised through song. There's wit in weaving the honesty of human experience beneath layers of verse, a critique enfolded within melody's comfort. And yet, the fear of reprisal is very much real in this world. A jest construed the wrong way can transform opportunity into offense, favor into disdain. Thus, you sometimes mask the bold with nuanced refrains, allowing ambiguity to paint a versatile canvas for listeners. For every patron who appreciates the complex dance of your narratives, Others may opt for simpler, pleasing refrains that ruffle no feathers. Perhaps this tension that between art and compromise, between personal muse and communal carusis, a testament to your time, forever echoing down the corridors of history. It shapes your identity, fosters the acquisitive cleverness needed to sway expectations, and kindles creativity's flame, which even the bleakest canvas tries to dim. Clive, the famed bard of your age, stood as a witness to his own crossroad of artistry and necessity. His compositions danced along the edge, at times enchanting patrons with sophisticated lyricism, and at others, quietly challenging them to ponder their assumptions. Through this, he carved a legacy still echoed in the courtly halls and cobbled streets as timeless resonances. For now, beneath the waxing moonlight, you wield your instrument as a brush upon night's silence, sketching out where dreams converge with the world's stager, dynamic performance theatre, where life and its foibles provide infinite rhythm and rhyme. It's a commitment you reflect on the melody, an umbilical chord, to authenticity, even when bearing witness to shades unasked for and unrestrained. Such stories may discomfit the comforted, provoke the complacent, yet they ground and celebrate the reality that embraces complexities rather than obscures them, stitching together the scions of unanticipated truths. As the evening air cools and the horizon's light begins to fade, you return your instrument to its case, knowing today's residual echoes shall linger on, faint yet eternal, in your heart. The journey continues, an aria of artistic perseverance harmoniously navigating the whims of an ever-watchful world. And so, you move onward, buoyed by the whispers of stories still untold, waiting to find voice in notes yet wrapped in silence. The road unfolds beneath your feet once more, carrying you along paths lined with the ever-whispering trees and fields edged with deep shadows. In a world where music serves both as solace and subversion, there is another looming spectre that could transform melody into misfortune: the growing reach of religious scrutiny and inquisitions. As a medieval musician, you inhabit a realm that precariously bridges the secular and the sacred. Music is both a bridge and a battleground, place where uplifting hymns can sway the soul, while lively secular tunes might draw suspicions of moral decay. It's a path every minstrel must walk with care, knowing full well that in the eyes of the Church, not all notes are created equal. In an era where the Church holds sway over nearly every aspect of life, music becomes a focal point for both praise and paranoia. Your compositions, innocent as they may seem, may draw the ire of those who see in them the potential for heretical subversion. Songs that celebrate the joys of earthly experience are often viewed with a wary eye, as religious authorities scrutinize every note for sign of impropriety. Historians still argue about the extent to which this vigilance stifled musical creativity or prompted innovative ways for musicians to express themselves. Music held the power to inspire divine reverence, but, in equal measure, had the dreadful potential to tempt away from the moral path, a fact that gave it a dangerous kind of allure. The Church casts a long shadow over the villages and towns through which you travel. In some communities, ecclesiastical influence can be felt in the very air you breathe, as palpable as the fragrance of incense drifting from a chapel. The clergy wield considerable influence and aren't afraid to voice their disapproval or demand penance for perceived transgressions. In such towns, you're careful to adhere closely to accepted musical canon or face the backlash that might flay your reputation. Sometimes, it feels as though you walk a narrow path between sacred and profane, adapting your repertoire to suit the inclinations of your audience. An evening of hymns might soothe a devout crowd, but stifle your creative soul, while less ecclesiastic fare may stir the hearts of common folk at the cost of raising clerical eyebrows. Yet, like any astute minstrel, you're not alone in navigating this terrain. There are clever modes of deliverance to be observed, stories swaddled within allegory, paths paved with subtle nods to tales that are as much about invoking shared experiences as they are about pleasing the ears. You learn to play with elusive cleverness, creating layers that invite understanding where a turn of phrase can sing a sacred canticle to some, while whispering wry critique to others. The threat of religious prosecution might hover like a storm on the horizon, but the legacy of music is vast and resilient. The The minstrel's resourcefulness grants them an ability to bend and weave elements of spiritual significance within the secular, finding harmony between the two worlds. One evening's memory remains stark an old friend, recounting how a harmless jest earned a summons before the local ecclesiastical court. Yet his clever tongue wove such an intricate tale of penance that the judgment turned into both an education and entertainment, earning him respect as well as absolution. Amid this delicate dance, some musicians have leaned into the spirituality deeply, allowing it to inform and enrich their works. Your own compositions might drift, too, between sacred hymns that echo through stone cathedrals and ribald rhymes that breathe life into taverns' smoke-heavy air. For every cautionary tale dictating oppression, there lie others of growth and freedom, wherein musicians create and thrive beneath the weight of scrutiny. As you reach the bounds of yet another village, the impending twilight is marked by the distant pealing of chapel bells, ushering a call to rest and reflection. It promises a brief respite, a moment where tempos shift, demanding pause. But life's rhythm shall continue on the morrow, blend of shadow and shine, the echoes of sacred tones interplaying with the secular, each note carrying possibilities anew for expression, exploration, and existence within an ever-evolving medieval world. Wherever the road may lead next, you carry with you the understanding of balance no just between music or faith, but of navigation through the landscapes of fear, acceptance, and transcendence. It fortifies your resolve, enshrined as an everlasting partnership between song and life that enables you to continue forth in this wondrous, precarious medieval tapestry. Traveling between townships and villages, your feet carrying you tirelessly onward, you become acutely aware of the precarious nature of existence in the medieval world. The spectre of disease looms ominously over each community, an invisible foe that underscores every gathering with the faintest whisper of fear. As a traveling musician, you become both a witness to and an unwilling participant in this grim dance, for illness knows no boundary and grants no immunity, leaving its mark on the lives it touches. The very life that enables you to bring music across regions also places you at the brink of risk, moving between centers of activity where humanity congregates and where disease can so readily spread. Plagues become more than historical footnotes. They are living realities that could snuff out a village's laughter overnight, replacing melody with the toll of death's relentless bell. Historians still debate the ways in which the movement of individuals like yourself contributed to the transmission of diseases across medieval Europe. Some argue that minstrels, traders, and pilgrims inadvertently carried illness from one settlement to the next, becoming vectors of unintended consequence within an already fragile ecosystem. But this is only one part of a tapestry woven intricately with the threads of time, geography, and humanity's tenacity. As you traverse the patchwork of landscape, winding through pastoral stretches and bustling market squares, the ever-present reality of disease is mirrored by the cautionary markers placed along roadsides. In hushed towns, you might play your lute to hearts already heavy, melodies serving as eulogies to recent losses. The villagers gather around your music like moths to a flame, drawn to the comfort of shared experience, even as shadows of caution linger in their eyes. The spectre of the Black Death remains sharp in memory, a brutal reminder of how disease can ravage not just an individual but an entire society. Its mark remains in the empty spaces where homes once stood and the somber tales shared by travelers along the roads you walk. Ironically, these challenging conditions also birth the most poignant of compositions, lyrics that explore the nature of survival, resilience, and hope. Amid societal instability, the role of the musician becomes more crucial than ever, providing a voice to the voiceless, a sense of solace amid uncertainty. Music, already a vehicle for emotions, transforms into a requiem for a world in flux, echoing cries of loss and resilience alike. Yet, life must go on, and so it does, in improvised moments of levity and joy, where jests cut through the somber air like bright ribbons. Fellow minstrels share tales of jesters turning fears into laughter, lively bastions of mirth amid medical turmoil. In the absence of certainties, humor and camaraderie become the salve for both body and spirit and armor against the world's harsh realities. Inserts of joy provide crucial pauses in these tales, where a spontaneous dance or a shared pint transforms a fearful gathering into something brighter. Villages strike cautious bargains with fate, and the rhythm of life resumes surface elasticity around subterranean scars. You'll pass on secrets once whispered beneath the burden of plague, vital knowledge of how hope remains unyielding despite overwhelming odds. In each village concert or improvised street performance, you understand you're also sharing stories of victory, for every song is a testament to endurance, a vestige of what has come before, defying oblivion. Approaching another market square where life buzzes anew, you remind yourself of music's inherent magic, to transcend fear, to bind communities in brushstrokes of melody across fearsome chasms. Here, songs become more than mere entertainment. They transform lives by kindling light above the shadow, offering peace, and reminding us of that which remains indestructible: the human spirit's indomitable resilience and ability to find refuge even amid the darkest hours. Born on these melodies, you press forward, where the balance of adventure and uncertain health outcomes thread through encounters which await your presence, and the echo of strings still resounded nobly through trepidation or recurring vistas of silence. In this ongoing symphony of life reshaped by song, you commit to yet another chapter, a journey where music carries constancy in a world forever changed by the unpredictable dance of disease. As you continue on your journey, you come to appreciate the unique and often misunderstood role of the jester within this shifting landscape. Like you, jesters danced to the rhythm of society's whims, but did so with an added layer of jest and folly that belied deeper societal critiques. Often viewed as mere entertainers, their role encompassed far more than met the eye, as they balanced humor with a sharpness that could both disarm and enlighten. In the court of kings, or the square of a bustling village, jesters wore their brightly adorned motley with pride. Their exaggerated gestures and comedic antics offered far more than laughter. They provided a necessary diversion from the rigidity and solemnity of court or common life. An evening spent under a jester's spell was an evening where hierarchy dissolved, if only temporarily, allowing truth to seep in through laughter's cracks. Amid the ensemble of strolling performers and musicians, jesters held a seat reserved for the boldest. Throughout your travels, tales abound of jesters who, daringly or foolishly, spoke truths that few would dare entertain aloud. The cleverest among them wielded humor like a blade, revealing the absurdities of power while cloaking themselves in the guise of innocence. Historians still argue over whether jesters wielded any true influence or if they were simply tolerated for amusement. However, the consensus leans towards the recognition of their subtle complicity in shaping social dialogues. Their veiled commentary paved pathways for introspection, where laughter softened the edge of critique, making it palatable and inviting reflection long after the performance ended. Yet the life of a jester wasn't without peril. To toe the line between delightful mockery and genuine insult was an art form in itself. Overstep the boundary, and jolly outfits might shield them no more. Regale too precocious a tale, and punishment could follow swiftly. Courts were places of entertainment but also of expectation, and jesters did well to remember their steps. Among the comedic flurry and noisy ensemble of tumblers, jugglers, and dancers, you'll often find misfortune knit into humor that speaks to the human condition. An arrow mistimed or a jest too sharp could turn the affection of audiences sour, turning merriment into discontent. This aspect endeared them with the musicians they so often worked alongside, the balance between satisfaction and silence, an ever-prominent arc. Through improvisation, jesters unveiled themes hidden beneath society's masks, drawing laughter even from those they lampooned. It was an honesty that took courage, a reflection played out front of both the forgotten and the influential, resounding beneath crowns and through parish doors alike. In such performances, both the peasants and the nobility saw parts of themselves and their shared humanity. In some ways, the jester's role serves as a heightened mirror to your own, where music becomes the background canvas on which the colors of humanity are revealed. Each performance, whether through jest or song, offers the fragile and the exalted alike a glimpse beyond themselves, an invitation to confront the complexities of life during medieval times. The laughter they inspired, however, wasn't merely echoing entertainment. Sometimes, Jesters bore witness to their own tales of sadness, the irony of a life meant only to tease, when the sorrow lingered after they cleared the stage. For through every performance, the jester, like the musician, was quintessentially human, cladding attire in motley motions as their vulnerability danced upon the elaborate tales they spun. As you swap stories with others of your ilk, you hear tales of jesters' daring and creativity, a reminder that in a world often bound by déjà vu of hardship, humor provided survival while speaking truth to power. In a way, their role served as both buffer and barometer, a test of resilience to those who relied on them for merriment and fond recollections. As dusk edges near, you sense the presence of patrons eagerly awaiting their nightly diversion, where jesters and musicians seamlessly merge to enhance an evening's tapestry of entertainment, a breath from daily hardship and politics, serving both buoyancy and introspection. In a world still bounded by shadow and silhouettes of suspicion, the jester's laughter provides a conduit to freedom, a manifestation of defiance spoken out of jest that never truly ends, when the cloth of its performance melts into the infinite dusk. And though night settles in its ever-present key, remember, the echoes of jesters and musicians alike resonate beyond the momentary. They invite generations future and past into a world wherein shadows themselves are flecked with understanding, and jest bears the power to reforge insights through unguarded laughter and lingering melodies. As the moon begins its gentle ascent in the velvet sky, you contemplate how musicians like yourself navigate the complex framework of guilds and societal structures within the medieval world. Whether you belong to a guild or wander as a freelance minstrel, these institutions exert a palpable influence over your life, shaping the path you tread with both protections and constraints. Guilds offer a semblance of organization in a world complicated by its lack of modern infrastructure. They provide connections and support, forming a network of fellow tradespeople whose collective strength serves as a safeguard against the unpredictabilities of medieval life. If you're fortunate enough to belong, the guild becomes a communal net, ready to catch and support you when times are tough or competition fierce. Yet, for all the stability and unity they promise, guilds also impose certain expectations and rules that aren't always in harmony with the artistic nature of a musician. As you move through villages and cities, these organizations stipulate where you can play and whom you can seek patronage from. Falling afoul of their regulations can mean more than a simple reprimand. It might result in the loss of privileges and a curtailment of your opportunities to perform and earn in certain places. Historians continue to debate the extent to which guilds enabled artistic expression versus stifled individual autonomy. They recognize the complex role these structures played in shaping the cultural tapestry of medieval Europe. While guilds could provide a protective cocoon for musicians, they also served as gatekeepers for artistic expression, sometimes ranking conformity above creativity. For those outside guilds, the world offers the freedom of itinerant independence and the accompanying anxieties of insecurity. Although free minstrels can wander without the weight of guild regulations, they also do so without its safety nets. For them, each town they visit is a new challenge, with no guarantees of welcome or sustenance, reliant entirely on their skills to win over patrons in impromptu performances. In staying within guild boundaries, you find a community members exchanging stories of routes traversed, tricks for fending off adverse weather, or for securing payment from a reluctant lord. Each exchange weaves a network of camaraderie, a shared language of survival within the unpredictable world of medieval musicianship. Yet this comfort has its trade-offs, a knowledge that you are bound by collective stipulations rather than an individualistic pursuit. Your mind drifts to tales shared among guild gatherings, stories of musicians who struck out on their own. Some found fame and fortune, their talents elevating them to court composer positions or securing lifelong patronage, while others found only hardship, their songs lost to oblivion without the guild's support. Their stories echo at the fringes of memoria, reminder of the delicate dance balancing security with freedom. For you, the challenge lies in treading this narrow line, embracing the guild's familiarity and support, while ever seeking to retain the personal voice that weaves through your performances. It requires thoughtful navigation, finding the rare spaces where individuality can bloom within preordained boundaries. As you sit beneath the stars, your instrument resting by your side, you consider the nuances of this life. You belong to a lineage of musicians who have walked the crossroads between tradition and innovation. Guilds nurture your craft, but it is your own spirit that injects life into each chord and lyric. The melodies that wander through your mind now echo with the whispers of your journey, each a note in a symphony conducted by history, its movements dictated by time, place, and identity. In this shared existence with fellow minstrels and guild members, you recognize not just the constraints but the potentials, the opportunity to tap into this collective well of experience and guidance, letting it guide you towards new horizons. As the glow of the evening's last light fades, you gather your belongings, knowing this night, like many before, shall become part of your repertoire. The stories of guild rules and freedoms interlace with your explorations of medieval music, keeping alive the narratives of a time when life's tempo was measured not by the clicks of machines, but by the harmonious interplay of strings, voices, and the kinship of communal existence. A new dawn will soon break, bringing with it opportunities waiting in shadow, the page of day ready for the pen of your music to inscribe. In these cadences, you find the unyielding presence of guilds, not as a barrier, but as part of the song's broader canvas. Another note within the grand chorus, that is the life of a medieval musician. As dawn spreads its mellow light across the horizon, painting the world in hues of blush and gold, you anticipate the pulse of life that awaits at the heart of a vibrant festival. For musicians, festivals are both a haven and a crucible, where the revelry, excess, and celebration of medieval times converge, creating an exhilarating yet exhausting cycle that draws you into its embrace. The festival life provides respite from the solitude of the road, inviting you to revel in lively congregation as villages and towns transform into bustling epicenters of culture and commerce. Streets are lined with vibrant stalls, offering an assortment of wares, spices, silks, and tantalizing treat-stalls suffused with the sounds of jovial conversation and soft laughter. This is your stage, a canvas of opportunity upon which you paint melodies that reflect the collective mood, crafting moments that linger in the listeners' hearts. Here, among the swirling crowds, your music becomes a vital element of the festival's tapestry. It's an electrifying blend of rhythm and cheer, designed to elevate the spirits and synchronize with the season's jubilation. Musicians have long understood the power of festival performance spaces, where music bridges individual stories into a shared narrative. For a brief time, you belong to a larger fellowship, where the troubles of everyday life recede beneath the waves of sound and spectacle. The intersection of artistry and festivity demands energy and creativity in abundance. As you navigate these arenas of celebration, you become something of a conductor, summoning tunes that ripple through the gathered masses, arranging the crowd's laughter, dancing, and merriment into a seamless, joyous symphony. Whether positioned at the base of a wooden stage or perched from rustic balconies, your melodies thread through bustling markets, intertwining with the clink of tankards and the cheer of good company. Historians still argue over the origins and evolution of these festivals, speculating on their transition from pagan roots to more communal, Christian celebrations marked by the calendar. The core, however, remains constanta, timeless expression of community, acknowledgement, and defiance against the passage of time. In these moments, the medieval world sheds its layers of hierarchy, and you become a custodian of its collective revelry, enabling the dissolution of class boundaries through the unifying power of music. Among the most fabulous tales of festivals past lie the accounts of famed minstrels and bards who wove magic into their performances. The great poets and storytellers, whose reputations surged like the cadence of drumbeats over moonlit nights. You recall anecdotes shared by those who have tread this path before you, tales of epic performances in castles and commons, where minstrels' grand woven stories ushered listeners from the threshold of reality into the realm of imagination. Thereon, weaving myth and deed together, a dreamscape only the recklessness of festivities can invoke. Even amid the heightened atmosphere, however, the festival presents a test and intensive endeavor, requiring wit and endurance as much as skill. For each fleeting moment of triumph achieved through your instrument's strings, the weariness of the constant demand for newness and innovation beckons. Each day is a spiral where creative energy must be high and delivery consistent, exhausting both body and spirit as both are caught within the cycle's unyielding grip. Yet, the festival, the apex of public life, is a domain without equal, offering rewards immeasurable to those willing to seize them. New friendships bloom like spring flowers, ideas exchanged in verbal grace, and appreciation flows with generosity only this communal revelry can inspire. It remains a beacon to which you are eager to return, recharged by its poignant transience. As dusk descends, ushering in the twilight's mystique, you find fulfillment through shared melodies and laughter that linger beyond the festival grounds. Even as you prepare to move onwards, away from temporary stages and borrowed songs, you remain interconnected with those fellow adventurers of time. Each echo, each refrain builds a mosaic of shared memoria legacy that lasts far beyond the finite festival hours and ebbs toward eternity. For now, you relish in the fading notes, aware of your role in transmuting time into cherished moments, binding disparate souls and hearts into one dynamic pulse. Your path is enriched by the tapestry of sound, sight, and fellowship that festival life provides. Crafted by destinies shared within the lived experience of medieval camaraderie, yours steadfastly entangled among its vibrant threads. As the memories of the festival play through your mind, you continue on the path that takes you away from the echoes of laughter and cheer, back onto the winding roads stretching across valleys and fields. One of the profound roles you play as a medieval musician is that of a cultural bridgeon, unspoken messenger, traveling between villages and kingdoms, carrying the seeds of stories, ideas, and melodies that gently transcend the boundaries of language and border. On this landscape where information is not instantly accessible, and where news travels far more slowly than the feet it walks upon, musicians and minstrels like you serve as vital conduits of exchange. With each note played and each tale spun, you spark curiosity and illuminate minds with glimpses of worlds beyond the horizon. You become both a source of entertainment and a vessel of intellectual and cultural enlightenment, weaving connections between diverse communities. As you move from one place to another, you absorb and share tales, exchanging them, like currency, trading the experiences and knowledge gathered on your travels for ones shared by new acquaintances. Such moments lend themselves to both learning and teaching, as the narratives you carry are enriched by each audience's interpretation, forever evolving with retellings. Historians continue to discuss the extent to which medieval musicians contributed to the cultural dialogue of their times. Some argue that the musicians merely reflected their surroundings, while others contend that these artists actively influenced the cultural waters they navigated. The truth, you suspect, lies somewhere between, carried along in each shared melody and whispered story. In this role of cultural intermediary, you find yourself in constant dialogue with the past and present. You learn to discern the historical undercurrents that underscore the songs, legends, and customs of each locale. Every subtle phrase encompasses layers of history, a melody evoking ancient mythologies, or a verse inspired by recent triumphs, layered with nuance and rich in meaning. In the gathering halls and village squares, crowds eagerly hang on your every word, to extract wisdom from stories that can inform and influence cultural perspectives. Your songs evoke distant lands, shining cities, and the tapestry of humanity held together by shared dreams. The universal themes of love, heroism, and moral conflict transcend differences, uniting listeners across cultural divides through the quintessential language of emotion. The act of sharing is reciprocal. You see how the melodies and tales you carry become woven into the fabric of each new community, subtly altering their cultural dialogue as they interpret and pass them along. Through a simple lyric or melody, you become an agent of continuity, embedding yourself into the lineage of tradition while simultaneously sparking small revolutions of change. One of your fellow travelers shared a compelling tale of an encounter with a sculptor who drew inspiration from the songs of passing minstrels. The melodies translated into intricate carvings that now adorn the facades of a humble church, immortalizing in stone a moment of cultural cross-pollination that civilization itself flourishes upon. As you return to the road, you recognize that humankind's greatest strength often lies in its ability to exchange ideas and adapt. You are both witness to and participant in this fluid exchange, the dynamic interplay of diverse cultures acting as a crucible of creativity and compassion. This role as cultural bridge builder is one you relish. The life of a medieval musician is more than just livelihood. It is an ever-evolving story that carries with it the voices of countless travelers. By giving life to these voices, you continue the work that began long before you took up your lute, a harmonious mission driven by curiosity and the desire to see beyond the veil of the known. The landscapes you traverse blend into the threads of an ever-unfolding tapestry, vibrant yet fleeting experiences of travel, the songs and narratives gifted out to the world. These are the melodies of shared human experience which, as the footfalls of travelers sound anew, define a culture's identity across time and space, so long as there are those who listen and those who carry on. As the road stretches out ahead of you, lined with the changing hues of the season, you enter a landscape rich with anticipation, the arena of rivalry and competition that exists between musicians. In this world of minstrelsy, camaraderie, and competition dance side by side, shaping the journeys and destinies of those who compose its lively soundtrack. Every town and village bristles with tales of musicians competing for the ultimate prize-coveted patronage or the adulation of the crowd. These contests of skill and wit become pivotal moments, showcasing both the talents of individuals and the diverse richness of the music they create. To be a minstrel is to embrace this rivalry with a wry smile, knowing that every performance could spark the admiration of peers or kindle the embers of a friendly enmity. It's a world where intricate compositions and improvisational prowess are matched against one another in a playful yet earnest dance for both recognition and sustenance. Historians still debate the extent of rivalry amongst musicians, pondering whether these competitions inspired greater artistry or created divides within otherwise supportive communities. Echoes of these debates resonate within the circles you frequent, where stories of triumph and heartbreak mingle with laughter over shared pints and recollections of past duels. Rare meetings at market fairs or festivals often set the stage for these musical duel spectacles where prestige is the prize and the audience serves as judge, jury, and spectator. Here, under the shade of a canvas awning or the open canopy of stars, notes are exchanged like salvos fired in a joyful battle of skill and creativity. Each song becomes an arrow in a quiver, every chord a challenge tossed across imaginary lines. A fellow minstrel once recounted an epic rivalry with a harpist at a festival. Their dueling melodies captured the crowd, playing out a symphony of feigned feuds that culminated in applause loud enough to echo through generations. Such stories add color to the tapestry of life shared among those who wander the roads in search of fortune and fame. And yet, this vibrant experience goes beyond mere self-interest. Rivalries, when met with mutual respect, propel musicians toward their best work, pushing innovation and creativity to new heights. They encourage the reinventing of old tales, the crafting of new harmonies, and the redefining of what it means to be a minstrel. While the tension of competition fuels growth, it is the camaraderie that often endures. After the stage is dusted of footprints and musicians retire to share stories beside flickering fires, old rivalries often mellow into friendships, forged by a common love for the art. The shared understanding of this life, the struggles and triumphs, they become bonds deeper than the occasional bouts of pride or envy that surface in the heat of competition. Still, as much as the contest attracts its participants with the allure of acclaim, its unpredictability is ever present. A single bravura performance could turn a mere musician into a legend, while an off night might see even the most accomplished at a loss. For yourself, each encounter with another musician in this landscape of rivalry is an opportunity to grow and discover newer potentials for your art. You recall vividly those moments of playful one-upmanship and the quiet wisdom extracted from seeing your craft reflected through a competitor's eyes. Every new encounter adds a new note, a fresh perspective to your ongoing narrative, urging you forward along paths uncharted. So, you continue on, walking amidst the interplay of rivalry and camaraderie, collected notes and melodies swirling within your mind. You embrace the role of challenger and challenged, aware that each song created, every rhythm played marks another step in the endless dance of musicianship, a testament both to individuality and to the shared story of life itself. As the day folds into evening, the sun's glow retreating beneath the horizon's edge, you prepare your instruments anew, welcoming whatever lies ahead. And as you strum your lute beneath the gathering night, the melodies intertwining with the whispers of memory and shadow, you find solace in the realization that the path of a minstrel, like the music it inspires, is a journey never truly complete, always open, full of wonder, discovery, and the promise of sound. Beneath the night sky, as the stars glimmer softly against the inky expanse, you reflect on one of the most elemental powers in a minstrel's arsenal: storytelling. This is not just an accompaniment to your music. It is an integral part of the performance and artistry that breathes life into melodies, infusing them with depth and meaning that capture the hearts of your audience. In medieval times, storytelling intertwines with music to weave a narrative tapestry as rich as the harmonies you play. Every tale you tell is a bridge to the past, a glimpse into the soul of humanity wrapped in verse and melody. Whether recounting legends of ancient heroes or crafting ballads of love and loss, storytelling allows you to transcend the here and now, transporting your audience to realms that exist just beyond the horizon of the mind. These narratives offer a window into the fears, dreams, and aspirations of those who came before, as well as a mirror reflecting the lives of those who gather to listen. Storytelling nurtures an intimate bond between you and your audience, shared journey into the heart of human experience, where laughter and tears intermingle, and memory finds fertile ground in the imagination. Historians and scholars continue to explore the evolution of medieval storytelling, debating whether these tales were primarily vehicles for moral instruction or simply entertaining escapism. Yet, as you spin your yarns, you sense that storytelling fulfills a far more nuanced role, connecting emotional and spiritual threads woven throughout the human condition. As a minstrel, you inherit narratives from varied sources, passed along through word of mouth, scribed in ancient tomes, or born anew from your own creativity. There's a responsibility in this act, not just to entertain, but to preserve heritage and stir the flames of curiosity and reflection in those who listen. Each story requires careful crafting, drawing from tales of the past and the vibrance of personal insight to deliver a narrative both resonant and enriching. In the thrumming atmosphere of a bustling tavern or the quiet majesty of a candlelit chamber, you wield your tales like a skilled weaver, stitching threads of magic, adventure, and wisdom into the fabric of your song. You watch as your audience leans in, their gazes distant yet captivated, as the world beyond fades into insignificance before the imagery your words evoke. Some stories grow from the depths of local folklore, nurtured in the minds of villagers and ready to spring into full bloom with your melodic encouragement. Others wing their way to you from distant lands, breathing foreign scents and flavors into familiar spaces, capturing the imagination with tales of exotic adventure. Storytelling, like the music that accompanies it, holds transformative power. It invites reflection, evokes emotion, and fosters a deeper understanding of the self and the world. A noble lady might find solace in a ballad of enduring love, while a farmer discovers wisdom in tales of industrious folk overcoming adversity. Each listener finds their own thread within your narrative, a resonance uniquely their own. The beauty of storytelling lies not only in its words but in the pauses between them, the spaces where the audience fills in the blanks with their own experiences, adding textures and hues to the narrative canvas. Your tales become living, breathing entities, shifting with each performance as each telling adds layers to the ongoing evolution of the narrative. With every performance, you find that your role is much more than that of a mere entertainer. As a storyteller, you are a keeper of tradition, a cultivator of empathy, and an architect of dreams. Your words possess the potential to uplift spirits, provoke thought, and forge connections, reaching across barriers of time and distance. As your evening unfolds in this tapestry of storytelling and song, you feel the restorative power flow from words to audience and back again, creating a symbiotic dance that nourishes all involved. Here, beneath the quiet canopy of stars, you continue the timeless work that binds cultures and transcends the ages, the resonant song of humanity sung through stories both familiar and new. You carry on through the velvet embrace of night, guided not solely by the path beneath your feet, but by the vibrant stories resonating within your heart. Whether shared amid the glow of a campfire or the grandeur of a castle hall, each bardic tale becomes a note in the grand symphony of existence, an eternal melody echoing through the corridors of time. As you wander through the diverse landscapes of medieval Europe, you encounter not just different cultures and customs, but a myriad of languages and dialects that transform each region into a unique symphony of sounds. The challenges of adapting your performances to suit these various dialects become a significant aspect of your life. As a wandering minstrel and artist, balancing personal expression with the need to connect deeply with each audience. The language of the land is both music and mysteria cadence that flows through the marketplaces and countryside, rich with the nuances of local inflection and tone. Understanding these linguistic landscapes and their subtleties is as crucial as mastering the strings of your lute. It's about harmonizing with the people, ensuring your melodies resonate in ways that transcend mere notes. Each dialect brings its flavors and rhythms, shaping how your stories and songs are perceived. A tale recited in one village could mean something entirely different in another, depending on the phrasing and idiomatic expressions woven into the narrative. As a minstrel, you must learn to adapt swiftly, leaning into this linguistic diversity as both a challenge and opportunity. Historians still argue how the movement of minstrels influenced the spread of language during medieval times, pondering whether musicians played a subtle role in unifying disparate dialects or if they merely echoed the local vernacular. What is clear is that musicians helped knit together a tapestry of communication, threading common themes and shared narratives throughout the region, granting these dialects a voice in the grand narrative of the world. For you, the task is twofold: ensuring your stories retain their integrity while adapting them to suit the local color. It requires a keen ear and a love of words, the ability to learn quickly and embrace the quirks of speech that breathe life into your performances. You collect phrases like treasures, keeping them safe in the vault of your memory, ready to unfurl them into the air like bright ribbons of sound. Through this linguistic journey, you encounter local idioms and proverbs that lend new layers to your tales. You grow to appreciate that language isn't just the repository of communication, but a repository of culture and shared experience. Every village you visit adds its stones to the mosaic of dialects, each mosaic contributing to the symphony that is the medieval world. You recall evenings spent in candlelit taverns, where the cadence of speech becomes a rhythm all its own. Listening to conversations around you, you learn to adjust pronunciation, alter emphasis, and change lyrics to better suit the moment. This adaptability is akin to composing a new score, each night an endless dance of creativity that tests your ability and enhances your art. Your audiences vary as much as the dialects they speak. There are the curious children who crowd near, eager to hear tales spun in words not entirely their own, yet captivating for their novelty. There are the elders, presiding over gatherings with the wisdom of years, nodding in approval at your clever handling of local lore. Understanding the intricacies of language allows you to connect with these hearts, weaving a common story from threads as varied as the tones they speak. Additionally, this experience of language enriches your own storytelling, imbuing your music with a cosmopolitan allure that draws listeners in. As you navigate these linguistic channels, you capture and release melodies that cross boundaries, invite empathy, and spark the imagination, bridging distances that might otherwise remain insurmountable. Thus, language becomes both your challenge and your reward each performance, an invitation to transcend not just geographical but ideological divides, an opportunity to immerse yourself in the unique beauty inherent in human communication. Language's music underpins the score of existence, its notes crafted from syllables and phrases, echoing through time. As you continue your journey, you find gratitude in the realization that language, in all its forms, is a universal connection, a bridge suspended over the chasms of difference, carrying stories back and forth over a harmony that unites the human experience. It is here, amid words' intricate dance, that you recognize you are not merely a minstrel traversing roads, but a painter of soundscapes, an embracer of sounds that travel on the breezes and settle into the tapestry of all who dare to listen, conductor of the symphony of voices that weave across the medieval world. As the journey carries you onward, you find yourself drawn into the captivating intersection of folklore and melody, two elements that intertwine to form an intricate and powerful tapestry. They give voice to the layered narratives and rich cultural histories of the lands through which you wander. This marriage of folklore and music breathes life into ancient stories and ensures they resonate through time, connecting generations separated by years, yet bound by shared heritage. Folklore is the soul of the people, a repository of wisdom, superstition, and moral lessons wrapped in stories passed orally from one generation to the next. These tales fuel imaginations and offer explanations for the mysteries of the world, inviting listeners to explore the realms of the fantastic and the divine. They weave a narrative fabric upon which the deeds of ancestors and spirits, heroes and villains, saints and monsters are embroidered. As a minstrel, you hold the unique ability to transform these vibrant threads of folklore into living music, creating a sensory experience that resonates deep within the hearts of those who listen. Each melody becomes an embodiment of a tale, a lyrical exploration of themes and motifs that resonate with universal truths, guiding your audience through landscapes of fantasy and introspection. Historians still delve into how deeply the folklore of the medieval world influenced the art of minstrels, debating whether musicians shaped these stories as much as the stories shaped them. Nonetheless, it is undeniable that this partnership between folklore and melody has an enduring impact on the cultural fabric, serving to preserve, adapt, and disseminate these narratives far and wide. The folk tales you encounter along your journey are as varied as the stars above. There are myths of creation and stories of gods walking among mortals, fables that teach with gentle wisdom, and ghostly legends that chill the spine. These narratives provide you with an inexhaustible fountain from which to draw inspiration, their themes as boundless as they are eternal. When you perform these tales, folklore transforms from static story into a living organism. It evolves with each retelling, infusing it with the beauty of the present while preserving the essence of the past. The music you create traces the arc of these stories, capturing moments of triumph and tragedy, love and loss. A haunting melody might evoke a lost city swallowed by time, while a lilting refrain tells of a trickster's clever escapades. Audiences find a particular magic in these performances, a sense of belonging and continuity. The stories speak to their collective consciousness, echoing the shared truths of humanity wrapped in the particulars of place, dialect, and tradition. They offer an opportunity for reflection and an encounter with the mysterious forces that, despite their ancient origins, still linger in the shadows of the world. Folklore, with its rich imagery, also offers you, the minstrel, a canvas upon which to craft new tales, personal interpretations of timeless stories that inspire and expand. You layer new harmonies over traditional motifs, crafting narratives unique yet reverent of their roots. This creativity breathes new life into old words, ensuring that the stories remain vibrant and relevant to those who hear them. There is a deep satisfaction in watching a child's eyes widen as you recount the tale of a knight's quest, or seeing an elder nod knowingly at the resolution of a story they know well. Your audience's engagement reflects the cyclical nature of storytelling, the constant renewal and rebirth of ideas that live in the ebb and flow of collective consciousness. As you travel along wooded paths and through bustling markets, you gather stories like a gardener plucking ripe fruit, each one carefully tended and brought to life with the infusion of music. Folklore and melody become a marriage of voice and chord, merging into a powerful vehicle for the exploration of the self and the world, drawing listeners together through a tapestry woven of universal truths. This relationship between storytelling and song is one of reciprocity and renewal, each enhancing the other in an infinite loop of exchange. It serves as a reminder that in a world defined by change, some constants remain: the yearning to understand, the need to connect, and the desire to pass on the vibrant spirit of humanity from one generation to the next. And so, you walk on, collecting, curating, and sharing the stories spun between folklore and melodia. Dance as ancient as time, virtuosic in its echoes of heritage, eternal under the night's canopy, and bright with possibilities yet untold. As you meander through the winding paths and shadowed alleys of medieval Europe, the ever-present threat of war casts a long and lingering shadow over your journey. Conflict is a constant companion in this age, reminder of the fragility of peace and the volatility of human ambition. To the wandering minstrel, these skirmishes and battles are more than just distant rumors. They are the currents that shape and define the landscape through which you travel. In a time when news travels slowly, your role as a minstrel becomes doubly significant, transforming you into an unwitting chronicler of the age, a conduit for stories of valor and tragedy, heroism and loss. Through your songs, you are tasked with capturing the complex narratives that war weaves, bearing witness to its echoes, and ensuring that they resonate with truth and clarity to those who listen. Historians still debate the influence of war on medieval musicians, considering whether these artists acted as mere messengers or if they played a more active role in shaping perceptions and morale. Regardless of these academic debates, one truth remains clear. The music of the time reflects the tumult of the age, capturing both the human cost and the enduring spirit that war evokes. Forces of conflict ripple outward, affecting even the most remote villages and towns. Alliances shift like the seasons, and the clash of arms disrupts the familiar rhythms of life. As a minstrel, your travel routes may change, detours stretching into labyrinthine journeys through safer territories, far from contested battlefields. With this forced adaptability comes resilience. You learn to read the signs of unrest whispered by weary travelers and whispered rumors in market squares. Each song you craft becomes a testament to the endurance of human spirit, an exploration of themes rooted in courage and solidarity. Amidst the backdrop of war, you bear witness to both devastation and the astonishing tenacity of people bound by shared identity. Tales of valiant knights storming castle walls or humble peasants standing courageously against invaders seep into your consciousness, infusing your songs with a richness born of authenticity and empathy. In the grand courts where you occasionally perform, your music becomes a delicate balance, both tribute and counsel to those who wield power. A ballad of triumph can inspire resolve, while a lament might serve as a sober reminder of the burden that battle brings. Here, stories and songs act as silent diplomats, bridging divides and fostering understanding, even when the world teeters on the brink of violence. However, amid the theatrics of court and the roar of battle, the music of war also finds its quieter, more personal expressions. It exists in the poignant melodies of separation, soldiers' farewell to loved ones, the heartbreak of absence carved into tender chords. These songs hold the power to encapsulate the profound emotional realities of conflict, allowing listeners to see beyond the politics into the hearts of those swept into its wake. Yet, for every tale of strife and valor, camaraderie blooms in the wake of the storm. Musicians, soldiers, and common folk alike find solace in gathering around fires, engaging with the warmth of song and shared stories. Music becomes a balm, its power transcending the darkness of war, offering momentary peace and the gift of hope to those who seek refuge in its embrace. Navigating this tumultuous world demands more than just musical skill. It requires courage, adaptability, and an unwavering determination to bear witness. Through your compositions, you strive to honor both the living and the fallen, offering melodies that speak to layers of complexity underlying every act of conflict. In this dance between war's shadows and music's light, you continue your journey ever onward. The path of a medieval minstrel is not one of isolation, but of shared experience, a reminder written in notes and lyrics that as long as music endures, so too does the story of hope and resilience. And so, as stars bloom softly above a steadfast constellation overlooking both conflict and calm, you feel the unbroken rhythm of humanity's song beneath your feet, carrying you through the medieval dance of war and peace. Your music, a resonant testament to the indomitable spirit of life. As you journey from one village to the next, your reputation as a talented minstrel starts to precede you, casting its own peculiar shadows. You begin to understand the unexpected complexities that accompany such notoriety. Among the aristocracy and common folk alike, your music garners acclaim, but with increased recognition comes an entirely new set of challenges, the prices of popularity that few speak openly of until they find themselves ensnared in fame's embrace. The patrons who once welcomed you as an intriguing curiosity now regard you with heightened expectations. Once, your performances were humble offerings. Now, they bear the weight of anticipated brilliance. Your name, tangibly suspended on the whispers of tavern gossip and noble conversations, often reaches a new locale ahead of your physical presence, ensuring an audience already primed and poised for specific sorts of spellbinding. Historians often debate whether celebrated minstrels held genuine sway over the age's cultural landscape, or if they were simply novelties, consumed and discarded once the novelty wore thin. What is certain is this dichotomy between the privilege of fame and its burdensa reality familiar to every performer who ascends its shining, precarious perch. Fame acts as its own kind of gilded cage, inviting invitations that tug you further from places of familiarity and comfort. It can estrange you from those grounded roots of humble beginnings, even as you are swept up by expectations of grandeur. Your life becomes a series of scheduled encounters, where your audience clamors not just for music, but for the illusion of perfection that's cast around your persona. This fame also brings with it the loneliness that arises when relationships become transactional. When you are seen as an envoy of the stars, mere mortals idolize rather than understand you. The same songs meant to bring people together sometimes set a divide, isolating you from the intimacy and warmth shared by others. Your mind drifts to tales of Robert le Troubadour or Garin de Lor, whose lauded performances enthralled courts, but whose personal lives remain obscured by myth. Their duets with fame serve as cautionary notes in the endless symphony of pursuit and performance, a reminder that along the road lined with renown, it's easy to lose oneself amid echoes of applause. Amid the swirling tapestry of fame's complexities, you navigate demands and desires with dexterity, reminding yourself that beneath the fabric of public persona lies your authentic self, a minstrel who plays for pleasure as much as prestige. The challenge remains to remain true to your muse while honoring the commitments bestowed by wider recognition. To manage the pressures of popularity, you cultivate quiet refuges within yourself, sanctuaries where music flows free of constraint and expectation. In moments of solitude, your spirit finds solace in art, purely for art's sake, untouched by the gilded trappings of performance that now accompany you. Here, the purity of song is allowed to flourish, untouched by public scrutiny. Friends through friends also become invaluable beacons in this challenging terrain, offering perspective and grounding when adulation threatens to displace the familiar. True companions see beyond the titular acclaim, embracing the jumble of imperfections and strengths that make up the mosaic of who you are. Of course, lines of fans and eager patrons make clear that popularity has its fair share of rewards, anchoring you simultaneously in privilege and burden. Invitations arrive bearing the weight of new adventures, new stories, new stages from which you might etch your legacy as someone who once silenced a room with strings and stories. And as twilight hands the baton tonight, you accept the tightly woven dance between fame's symphonic allure and its persistent demands. You tread carefully across the starlit stage, mindful of both the privileges afforded and the precariousness harbored by your new elevation. With this newfound clarity, you step forward, choosing each performance with a sense of purpose that defies the transient distractions of popularity. After all, the true essence of your journey isn't dictated by the amplitude of applause, but the enduring melody of heartstrings pulled and the invisible bridges you build along the way, uniting souls in shared experiences through the universal language of music. As the road unfurls its serpentine path before you, your thoughts drift toward the evolution of the very tools of your trade, the musical instruments that, over time, have grown and transformed alongside humanity's own development. The history of these instruments is a chronicle of innovation, adaptation, and creativity, mirroring the relentless quest of musicians to refine the art and craft of sound. Your lute, its polished wood, gleaming under the sun's slanting rays, is both a companion and a testament to this ongoing evolution. Born from the ancient strings of the kithara, the lute is an instrument defined by its rich, mellifluous tones, its strings a conduit for the expression of emotion and story. Yet, the lute is but one player in the grand orchestra of medieval instrumentation, each tool with its own tale to tell. The evolution of musical instruments is a dance of ingenuity, as inventors and musicians alike seek to push the boundaries of sound and capability. From the simple, unrefined notes of early wind instruments to the complexity found in stringed and keyboard instruments, this evolution traces humanity's journey of sonic exploration and innovation. Historians continue to debate the origins and influences of various instruments, examining how cultural exchange, trade, and conquest facilitated the spread and transformation of musical tools. What is clear is that this metamorphosis reflects musicians' enduring desire to access broader expressive possibilities, a desire as present in medieval times as it is today. In this age, the viol with its bowed strings offers a haunting resonance, the precursor to the violin you hear whispered about in tales of distant lands. Woodwinds too, like the flute and the crumhorn, contribute their voices to the vibrant tapestry, their airy notes weaving through gatherings with a lightness that belies their earthy roots. The tavern's energy often pulses with the rhythmic heartbeat of percussion instruments, the steady thud of the drum, the bright clatter of tambourines, accentuating the dancer's movements, or the clinking of cups in celebration. Here, even mundane objects are pressed into service for music, transformed by the musician's vision into instruments that echo across the festival grounds. Despite perhaps because of their humble origins, these instruments have given rise to enduring musical traditions, defining and redefining the parameters of performance. Every instrument has its place in the symphonic landscape, a signature voice that adds nuance to the storytelling potential embedded within each performance. This innovation is not limited to the instruments themselves, but extends to playing techniques and compositions as musicians learn to coax a range of emotions from their instruments, finding new ways to engage with their audiences. Romans and Greeks before them inspired the organ's mighty resonance. Today, it's embedded even in some quaint village churches. Its intricate mechanics are a marvel on which time-tested hymns soar to heaven, a dose-down reflection of majesty meant to captivate even the most distracted of congregants. Of course, the landscape of instruments exists not in stasis but in constant flux, responding to the touch of technological, cultural, and artistic evolution. Skilled artisans and craftspeople emerge as pivotal characters in this unfolding drama, refining their craft to bring forth instruments more resonant, durable, and responsive to the musician's artful touch. Within these changes, you understand that your lute, though loyal, one day may give way to newer inventions, driven by the same creative spirit that propels your stories. This is the nature of progress, the knowledge that each note played upon an instrument is both timeless and transient, a moment suspended within the endless scroll of innovation. These developments hold particular resonance for the musician on the road, where portability, durability, and adaptability often determine which instruments accompany you on your journeys. Your role as both performer and participant in this symphonic evolution breathes life into your craft. You stand as an heir to a legacy of constant experimentation and enlightenment, one in which sound becomes the vehicle for delight, introspection, and connection. And so, as twilight descends upon another day of musical exploration, you ease into a gentle refrain your lute, your longtime confidant, cradled against you. Encapsulated in each harmonic vibration lies a testament to the evolution of music itself, a journey through time, a fusion of the past shaping the future, and you, the minstrel, holding history's echoes in your hands. The journey continues, as does your place within this wondrous dance of ever-evolving expression. The notes lift into the night, carrying stories of past, present, and yet unimagined futures woven together in the ancient, enduring language of sound. As your journey stretches into yet another serene dusk, a gentle awareness settles in the realization of the legacy that you and all medieval musicians are part of. The whispers of history, the echoes of melodies, and the tales carried through song all coalesce into a rich tapestry that transcends time. It's a legacy crafted by the numerous bards, troubadours, and minstrels who have walked the paths before you, shaping the cultural mosaic that informs the present and inspires the future. The stories you share and the music you play are more than mere entertainment. They're threads woven into the very fabric of human connection, stitched across generations by shared experiences and emotions. Music has always been an agent of change, a mirror reflecting society's triumphs and tribulations, a refuge and a rallying cry, whispering of love and lament, hope and resilience. Historians may still debate the true impact of medieval musicians on the cultures they embedded themselves within, but one truth remains irrefutable. These artists served as the custodians of oral history, the keepers of tradition, and the pioneers of new soundscapes. Through their creativity and passion, they left a mark that endures, echoing through the concert halls and headphones of today. The influence of medieval musicians can still be felt in the structures of modern music, in the themes explored within contemporary storytelling, and in the timeless appeal of a well-told tale. As a minstrel, you partake in a living tradition, a continuum that stretches beyond your personal journey, connecting you with countless others who have dedicated their lives to the pursuit of art, expression, and connection. On a more personal note, as you walk the paths that those before you have tread, you carry their stories with you, adding your voice to the symphony of history. Each note you play, every story you tell, represents your contribution to this ever-evolving narrative. Your music becomes an enduring testament to the power of sound and story, the echoes of voices long past, and the promise of those to come. In these dwindling moments of twilight, you find yourself contemplating the journey's end, which is but another beginning within the endless cycle of creation and renewal. Every performance changes you, leaving behind traces of insight and inspiration that you share with those who listen. As your fingers dance lightly over the strings, conjuring a soft melody that ripples through the still evening air, you reflect on what it means to be part of this great legacy. The understanding that your story is but one note within the grand symphony of ages, harmonizing with the infinite chorus of tradition and change a melody that grows and transforms, forever caught between what was and what could be. As the final notes fade into the night, you embrace the quiet clarity that you, like those musicians who have played upon the strings of history before, you are both a traveler and a beacon, guiding others through the labyrinth of time with the lantern of song and story. It is not simply the music you leave behind, but the relationships fostered, the memories forged, and the bridges built between souls by the art you carry. With this recognition, you close your eyes, allowing the serenity of the moment to envelop you. The dawn will bring new roads and new stories to embrace. But for now, you rest, content in the knowledge that your legacy, woven from music's gentle threads, will forever remain part of the timeless mosaic of human storytelling. Sweet dreams.